It's election day in Little Rock. Voters are making their way to the polls to decide whether or not to approve Mayor Frank Scott Jr.'s proposed sales tax increase. If approved, it will raise the current tax rate in the city from 9% to 9.625% starting on January 1st. Polls are open until 7:30 tonight. We'll have the very latest once they close on THV11 and THV11.com. If you are still undecided about which way you'll vote this afternoon or this evening, we've got you covered. You can hear both sides of the argument and find a full explainer on the proposed tax right now on THV11.com. You can also text the word VOTE to 501-376-1111. We'll send you a link to that story. Thanks for watching here at noon. I'm Michael Aaron. Let's hope the weather cooperates for voters. Nathan Scott in the Weather Garden. It's hot, we know that.
It is warm, Michael, and also very humid just because we're seeing all that moisture arrive from the Gulf of Mexico. Tropical Storm Nicholas is down to the south, but we got some clouds and we'll have the chance of a few showers or storms out there, but many spots today will stay dry. Look at the temperatures warming up into the mid 80s across the state. Where the clouds are, it's into the upper 70s. 79 right now in El Dorado, but 87 in Fort Smith, 88 in Batesville, and 87 in Stuttgart. Here's a radar loop. We've got a few showers trying to develop, a few downpours moving through Des Arc, Cotton Plant, Brinkley. Not too much around the metro at this time, but just keep that rain gear close by. Tropical Storm Nicholas churning its way through East Texas, and look at all that moisture in Louisiana and Mississippi. Unfortunately, that's where it's going to stay. That shield of rain is going to remain primarily to the south of the natural state. I know we could use the rain, but Nicholas is not going to bring us much rain whatsoever. Here's your forecast today. Partly sunny, spotty showers, highs topping out into the mid to upper 80s. So I'll let you know if it stays dry through the rest of the work week coming up later.
And as Nathan just mentioned, Nicholas made landfall overnight in Texas. The winds were powerful and damaging, but rain may be the biggest concern with this slow-moving storm. Janet Shamlian has the latest for us this afternoon.
Nicholas slammed ashore as a Category 1 hurricane in Texas overnight, packing powerful winds and dumping significant amounts of rain. More than 12 inches in Galveston, 7 in the Houston area. Across the region, roads are flooded, and at one point, power was out for more than 400,000 customers in southeast Texas.
The concern is wind. It's too windy still for them to go out and fix those down power lines.
Wind gusts top more than 75 miles an hour in some areas, toppling trees and damaging structures like this gas station. People are being advised to stay home.
And that way you'll be safe, and then you'll be helping out our first responders as well.
Forecasters say Nicholas is moving slowly, meaning higher rain totals and the potential for further flooding. The storm is now headed for Louisiana, where thousands are still struggling to recover from Hurricane Ida. The governor has already declared a state of emergency there as storm-weary residents prepare once again. Janet Shamlian, CBS News, Kemah, Texas.
A THV11 update to a story we first told you about last week. A man who was shot in the head at an apartment complex on Colonel Glenn Road has died. According to new information from Little Rock Police, 21-year-old Dontorius Hickey was shot at Bradford Estates on Monday, September 6th. He was taken to the hospital and put into a medically induced coma until he died from his injuries yesterday. Hickey's death is now being investigated as a homicide, and authorities are working to determine a suspect. Give them a call if you know anything. And Little Rock Police have made an arrest in yesterday's homicide at an apartment complex on Rebsamen Park Road. According to investigators, 2 people were shot at the Prosper Riverdale apartments. Both were taken to the hospital, where one of them, 18-year-old Andre Griggs, died from his injuries. Raekwon Smith was later arrested and charged with manslaughter and aggravated burglary for his involvement. Police tell us the investigation there is also ongoing. Turning now to COVID-19 in Arkansas, Governor Asa Hutchinson's weekly update is scheduled for this afternoon. He's expected to talk about President Biden's new efforts to make vaccines mandatory for businesses with at least 100 employees. That news conference set for 1:30, so just under an hour and a half now. You can watch it live on THV11.com and on our YouTube page. We'll of course have the latest numbers and highlights from today's update, I should say, tonight on THV11 News at 5 and 6. Taking a closer look at where we stand right now, we're starting to see what could be the end of the summer surge. New cases are going down, as are our hospitalizations. But there's one number that doesn't seem to be declining, and that is our daily deaths. 31 of those reported yesterday. And while we do appear to be making progress when it comes to our case numbers, Saturday's packed Arkansas game has some people concerned. Close to 75,000 people were at Razorback Stadium celebrating the Hogs' win over Texas. Dr. Jennifer Dillahay, the state's chief medical officer, says we could see another increase in cases as a result, since a lot of people were unmasked and standing close together. And not only is she worried about new cases, flu season starting to kick off and football season just started, and that could be bad news for hospitals.
We really don't want flu and COVID spreading at the same time in a way that would potentially overwhelm our hospitals.
Dr. Dillahay says we won't see the impact of last weekend's game for a week or so. She's asking everyone now to be safe by getting both their flu and their COVID vaccines. There have been many questions and a lot of pushback following President Biden's vaccine mandate announcement last week. Several Arkansas sheriffs say they will not require their employees to get vaccinated. THV11's Mercedes McKay has more on the legality of the mandate and how some employers are reacting.
While cases continue to climb and vaccine rates aren't where leaders and health professionals want them to be, President Joe Biden announced a vaccine mandate Thursday. It will require private employers with more than 100 workers to mandate vaccines or offer weekly testing. Local lawyer Amanda Orcutt says Biden is doing this through the federal agency in charge of workplace safety, OSHA.
OSHA has rulemaking power to protect the health and safety of workers, even in the private sector. So legally speaking, OSHA does have rulemaking authority.
According to Orcutt, OSHA has a power called Emergency Temporary Standard, or ETS. They can issue these to protect workers from, quote, grave danger.
President Biden has decided that COVID-19 falls into that grave danger category and that this vaccine is the way to address it.
Before these rules come down, Orcutt says there's a lot employers can and should do in the meantime. First, figure out how you'll track employees' vaccination statuses. Second, decide whether or not to allow employees to choose the testing opt-out and figure out how you'll compensate them for that time. Third, talk through protocols for employees who have valid medical or religious exemptions. And last, decide what you'll do when there's pushback.
I think the atrocity here isn't the vaccine. I don't think it's even people that want to encourage people to get it. I think the atrocity here is that our choice is being taken away.
Cleburne County Sheriff Chris Brown describes the requirement as tyranny. He was one of the many Arkansas sheriffs who posted a letter over the weekend saying he will not mandate the vaccine for his employees.
I wanted to reassure my folks, like, hey, your ability to choose, your right as an American citizen to choose what is the best health option for you is secure as long as I'm here.
But Orcutt says employers could face penalties up to $14,000 per violation if the mandate isn't followed.
What is a violation? Is that one employee who doesn't get vaccinated? Is it every time that employee shows up? So is it every day? Those are all things that we're going to have to wait and see how those questions are answered.
Mercedes McKay, THV 11 News.
Lots to watch there. Orcutt says they're not sure when the full details of the mandate will come down. Could be within the next 30 to 60 days.